gosh.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Hope you're all good. Today is part 2. More Christian-based topics, more topics with a Christian spin. Hope you enjoy. Is everybody ready? So the first topic, question is, do you feel like people think that we're more morally superior because we are Christians?
I think people think that we are.
People think that we are.
And that's just because we go against the norm. By going against the norm, they think that we think that we're better.
Yeah.
Which is totally not the case. I choose to live my life. There's the saying, whatever floats your boat, so as long as you don't rock mine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that was the second half of that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I just used to say whatever floats your boat.
Yeah,
whatever floats your boat, but doesn't rock mine.
And I think some Christians actually do think we're moral.
I was gonna say that.
In general, it's just human nature that even if you don't think you're morally superior, you judge people based on their actions, and then subconsciously you feel that you're better than them because of what they've done, what they've done.
Yeah.
But me, I always try to like shut myself down on that, because no matter what anyone has done, like every saint has a past, man. Like, everyone has a past.
Because when you look at the prophets, especially the major ones, none of them were blameless except Daniel. The rest always had a past to them. Yeah. So how come we can look at somebody else who has a past and judge them, but then read a book with the prophet in it who was previously a killer or was previously promiscuous or did things that were ungodly? So how can we judge? How can we now judge somebody else when we're following teachings from people that have a past?
That's so true.
That's so deep.
And that's when in the Bible it says God resists the proud. And he's not talking to that about non-Christians. He's talking about us his believers, his followers. That those of us who think we are superior, who think that we are better than the non-Christian, he resists us because that's not a godly quality. Because that's the opposite of humility.
I think the biggest sin is pride anyway.
Yeah.
So that's when, like, if you got pride, like, God's like, he'll just spit you out of his mouth. Pride comes before a fool, so.
I think the struggle and the deception comes from the fact that when people are doing certain things, you kind of already know what God has said about it. So it's kind of like, I feel like people kind of take it as, because you're telling them God's truth, they feel like you're judging them. But no, that's not the case. It's just, you kind of know what he says, so why would you do anything other than that?
Like this one guy that came at church, he used to think that people... So like you became a Christian and like you kind of forced yourself to be morally better. So you're like, okay, like, yeah, now I'm not going to steal, now I'm not going to do that. But then he found out that it was the Holy Spirit through him that gave him the fruits of the Holy Spirit, which allowed him to just be kind, that allowed him to just be patient. Like it wasn't out of our own power that we are now morally better.
And sometimes as well, people think like if you don't drink, if you don't smoke, like you're proud or something. Sometimes people think just by not doing it that you're trying to offend them or you're trying to show them that you're better.
It's not always about you.
You get what I'm saying?
It's not always about you.
You're trying to...
When people start to think you're better than them, it's because they already know what they're doing. They probably shouldn't be doing. That's where it now comes from. That's why you think you're better than me. But it's not necessarily that I think I'm better than you, but if you now think that, then maybe you need to question why you're doing what you're doing and why you think
In order not to disrespect the people, you get what I'm saying? Like when you're around a lot of Igbos and then they're drinking palm wine or something, you can just taste it because that's their culture, but not to get drunk with it. But like if I just don't want to do it, it's my own conviction.
And I think people do that basically in the same sense as this. They do it for self-acceptance. So they justify these crazy things because they're so insecure about what they're saying that they look for that acceptance, and they know that they're gonna get someone like that on Twitter who's just like, you know what, I vibes with this sort of thing. So many people do a lot of things literally just for self-acceptance because they're so insecure about what they're saying. Hence, with the judgment thing, they lash out at anyone who's trying to live a better life because they have this perception that, oh, the person might actually be living a better life, but I'm not doing that. So instead of raising that person up or trying to learn from that person, I'll pull them down with me. When you're swimming and you're drowning, the human instinct is actually to pull the lifeguard who's trying to save you down with them.
Christianity means you follow Jesus above everything else, your family, your tradition, culture. And then if your tradition contradicts what Christianity is, you drop that tradition and then you follow Jesus.
Bars.
Bars!
The next topic is abstinence from sex.
Obviously the Bible.
Baby,
I feel like abstinence spiritually it gives you focus. When you're not abstinent, you're spiritually bonded to people whom you have sex with. There's also emotional attachment there. You could be with someone who's really abusive, and if you're having sex with a person, you would never acknowledge the abusiveness of that relationship.
I had a friend like that in first year. It wasn't a really abusive relationship. Whenever like she would get hit or anything, she would excuse it and say like, oh, he slipped, or like it was her fault. You can tie yourself to someone through sex, you know, and tie yourself to whatever they're carrying.
Sometimes.
I've seen people desiring someone who's clearly bad for them, and they know that they don't want this person either. But they're drawn to them and they keep sleeping with them, and you'll succumb to that because you've tasted the forbidden fruit, so you know what it's like.
People don't realise you're actually driven by sex, and it's like, me personally, I would never want to be so like under the mercy of a desire.
You become a slave to it.
Like, people don't see it, they're like, oh man, it's just sex, Like, cool, but then why is every life decision that you make
Just sex,
it's an addiction, because people forget it's also chemical reaction. It creates a good feeling in your brain. It creates very good hormones in your brain. So your brain keeps wanting. You become so attached to it that you just want it from anyone, no matter where, when, if you could get it, you want it.
No, that's my thing. Sorry.
And it's even worse if you could get
Black Mirror episode 1.
And then if you can't, some people resort to porn. There's a reason why God said people should not have sex till married. There's a bond it creates. Yeah. There's a lust it creates. There's a wanting it creates.
People worry about sexually transmitted diseases, but no one thinks about the spiritually transmitted demons.
There's a verse in the Bible that says when a wicked man leaves his house, talking about the body, he goes into a dry land and he gets 3 more wicked men to come with him. And when they enter the house, they destroy it worse than before. When they just start abstaining, that spirit comes back even stronger and tries to subdue them.
Boundaries.
Some people think they're having fun, but sometimes you say, I'm a slave to this thing. I'm a slave to digestive biscuits, man. Like,
on the table.
I have to have a digestive like every week. I'm trying to stop. But like, if you're
That's looking like it's Herod.
if you're not a slave to God, trust me, something else will fill that void.
I think sex without love, for example, is dangerous because every time you let someone in, you aren't just opening up to them spiritually, but you're opening up your heart to that person as well. Sex, was once a sacred thing, but now we can't even respect it anymore because sex itself isn't bad, but the way we engage it is bad in a way that actually harms us instead of edifying the beauty of the relationship you have with someone else.
And not think of him like saying abstain as deprivation.
And it's the only sin that the Bible actually says we should flee from. That shows the power that sexual sin has. Me personally, I've battled it a lot because I'm not a virgin. If you're not careful and if you don't constantly renew your mind, you're gonna look for it somewhere else. If you can't get it with the person that you did it with before. It's a very powerful thing and you don't realize it until you actually see, like for instance, how a Christian guy can look at a girl and how another Christian guy who has had sex will look at a girl. It completely clouds your eyes. Even if you've had sex before, you can decide like, I don't want to have sex anymore. And you can.
Thank you for saying
because some people, I've had sex now, so.
We're all chasing salvation, man. We're all chasing God, and it's like, your works don't save you. We're saved by faith. But because we have faith, we walk.
I'm not a virgin, but I could literally give any amount to get my virginity back.
So the next thing is about Christianity and it being just a laundry list of things to do.
Imagine if you go to your friend and you meet your friend and they're like, oh yeah, I have a dad. And you're like, does your dad... basically, the first thing you won't describe is all the things your dad doesn't allow you to do. You won't be like,
my dad gives me a curfew of 5 p.m. My dad, he doesn't want me to go on the Magdalene every night. My dad, he doesn't...
you would describe their dad like that. Come on, out of all the things that your dad does, you would never describe him first by all the things he can't do. Our relationship with God's not defined by the things that he's kept us apart for our own protection. He will protect us past than what we can see. Passed by the things that we might be blinded by, thinking, that fruit looks sweet, let's try it. Look what happened, look where we are, please.
It's not a list of rules, it's just a mindset. It tells you that now you're not living by the laws, but you're living by grace. But now, why do we follow the laws? We follow the laws because we live by grace. But we now follow these laws, do not steal, do not kill, because we love God. and God hates those things. So that is why we do them. But we're not doing those things to be saved. Every other religion tells you you do good to go to heaven. Christianity tells you you cannot go to heaven by your good. It tells you you're not good enough. Yeah. Christianity tells you you cannot be good enough to go to heaven. That God does not take bribe. As long as you've sinned, you're not good enough. Because God is perfect. And the only way you could go to heaven is by Jesus, man, by the blood of Jesus, by grace.
It is a mindset, but it's not only a mindset, it's a relationship. And in a relationship, you cannot just be governed by rules. And wanting to be in the relationship involves your heart. Now, with your heart, there are no rules. Everyone knows that. You have to feel to do. Your heart can't be told to do something. Just for a little context, that the 10 Commandments was just so the Israelites could get patterned, basically, so they can fit a certain kind of mold that God wanted them to fit.
So they will be separated.
So they will be separated from the world. But then Jesus comes and then replaces all of that. So when people judge us by like the 10 Commandments and we live by the 10 Commandments, Christ was never actually there.
I feel like even Islam countries are more true to their Sharia law than Christian countries are true to the 10 Commandments.
When they find out you're a Christian and like, oh, so you don't drink, oh, so you don't have sex.
First of all, those rules protect us. Let's just say it like this. Because each and every one of the 10 Commandments, when they're broken, they have repercussions.
I always call it a lifestyle because I feel like most things that you read about in the Bible encourage the good in you to come out. You know, things you should do, like having integrity. Christianity is just promoting you to live your best self, whilst also helping other people do the same thing. I don't think that anything is ever imposed on you in Christianity. The things where it says like don't do this or don't do that, you can try it for yourself and go do it, and you'll be like, whoa, I didn't enjoy that. It didn't turn out. Yeah, it backfired on me. Yeah. It's really that simple.
Christianity is actually solely based to live for other people. Because when Christ was on earth, all he did was serve. He would never prioritize one person over the greater good. He didn't even prioritize his only begotten son over the greater good. So we are also called to prioritize the greater good over ourselves.
The next topic is clubbing.
Gang.
What happens in the club stays in the club. Like I quit going clubbing. First year, from freshers out, and then like 6 months later, I kept going clubbing like all the time, nearly every week. Because it was like a new experience to me, and I was like, you know what, this is fun. There's no one to say like, oh, you know, like there's no one to be like, oh, you know, you're coming home. Your parents will bring you, put your phone in silent.
It's the freedom.
I'm in the library. But I am actually in the library, mum.
I was too self-aware of what was happening around me. If I could have blocked that out, maybe I'd be okay. But I was aware that I could see people hurting, and like I could see like, it's like a house of pain for people, and they're just trying to find comfort.
It is a house of pain.
Yeah.
Imagine living in your club, do you have to pay?
I don't think going to the club is a bad thing. But from what I've seen, I think the way in which you go to the club is important. If you go to the club, and you're very vulnerable emotionally, before you know, you're also vulnerable spiritually.
Bruh. Wisdom.
For me, I used to go clubbing so much. Literally, sometimes I'll go twice in one night.
How is that?
I don't enjoy clubbing at all. And cut out alcohol for a really long time. It's literally carrying your sheep-like self into a lion's den. You're not equipped. Why are you going to go to a place where you have one mentality and everyone else is against you? I mean, I've heard people say they enjoy the club without alcohol, but the club demands certain things from you to enjoy the night. It requires you to loosen up a bit. I'm sorry, what am I loosening up exactly? What, my morals? or my foundation? Or what I stand on?
No, again. Sorry.
I realized a lot of things the moment I actually went to a club sober. If my friends are drunk and enjoying themselves, at the end of the day, I'm Christian, but I would want to be drunk too. I would want, because they seem like they're loose, they're having fun, there's that demand to do so as well.
That's the most important thing. Like, there's a reason why the lights are off. It's not because
The club is anti-Christ.
it's not because you're embarrassed to dance. You're already drunk. You don't mind dancing. It's because they say it's okay. Do what you want.
I strongly believe you can enter the club. It depends on your intentions.
Let me
Speak for the authority. You can do it. That's why. You know.
I can do.
Justin,
Honestly, I believe guys and girls got it differently. I think girls can go out to have a girls' night out with just their girls and that's it. But if for a guy, I don't believe that.
Almost
when you go out, you know why you're there.
I don't
but the
believe
thing
that.
is though, yeah.
I always see him as I can't do this because I'm
a boy.
Buckle up. Yes, you can. Don't you know? I'm a boy, so there's one reason why. So you can't go and have fun either. Oh shit.
Even when girls dance together, it seems fun. Guys dancing each other, looking at other guys, it doesn't sound fun at all.
It doesn't seem fun at all.
You look at that.
Guys cannot wind
do a voice.
Think about the voice.
There's a reason why, number one, Jesus prayed at night, because at night is when the devil's most effective. A lot of things go down at night that don't arise in the morning. I did not enjoy myself, number one. Number two, I don't even know whether I came out the same person. I probably came out worse because the stuff that filtered into my heart. When have you ever seen someone being thrown out for racism? You've never seen that. Because it's allowed in a club, basically. It's basically like, oh, you're so drunk, so we're gonna allow it. Sorry, wait, when did morals get thrown out of the equation just because the venue changed? It doesn't make sense. Which is why I don't go into clubs.
I don't think going to the club is a sin, but I think it's just opening room for temptation. If I'm in the club and I'm not doing worldly things, I don't find it fun. That's just me personally. Because I don't think I could legit just go out to dance and just have fun.
Well, one common thing we do both share, both genders, is that when you're hurting, you go out for the same reason. Because this is when you go out to forget. And you're prone to the same mistakes in that vulnerable state. When I've seen people like that, they've come up to me, that go in the club like that, I'm just like, you shouldn't be here. Then I swerve you. Because I can't help it. I've been drinking myself. Be honest here, I've been drinking myself. I cannot help you. And I know that the help you want, yeah, isn't the help that I'm willing to give you.
Do I go clubbing? Not anymore. Purely because I don't really find it fun anymore. But do I think it's wrong? No. If I'm going to a club now, how weak am I that I can't stand firm and say I can be here and I'm not going to be tempted and I'm going to be alright? If you're weak, then fine, come. You know you're weak and that's good that you can identify. I shouldn't go there.
For me, if you love God that much, you're going to have to sacrifice that if you know that if you enter that room, you're going to flop. But then there are also some people, e.g. us, when we used to go, like literally our only intention was to just literally go dance.
It still is. If I'm gonna go, that is still my only intention.
We don't drink. We the things in the club would not affect me. Do you get me? Like as soon as I enter for one reason, I leave for one reason. There's no hanging about. Once it's finished, I'm home. So it just depends on your intentions and you as a person.
I used to go to club in Bear in first year, and why it was a sin for me was because God was giving me. He was giving me a command and he was telling me to not go to the club, but because I would drink and like I might drink too much or I'll be doing the most, like it was just I was solely just going against like a personal word from God. Like I went against it when I came to a point like in the summer where it was just like I just had to break it. My heart's just changed, like my motive has just changed. Like before it was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go out, like it's gonna be sick, it's gonna be lit, it's gonna be lit. I just know like I'm not of this anymore, like I'm not about this anymore.
Sometimes we forget that Christianity is a warfare. It's kind of like, I mean,
it's a spiritual battle.
It's a spiritual battle, you know.
As girls, sometimes I feel like you can go to the club for validity because when you come home at night, let's say like no guy hit on you, didn't get your free drink, you're gonna come home at night and when everyone's gone, you finish eating your pizza and chatting, you're gonna sit there and your heart is gonna sink because you think, no one said anything to me today. Does that mean this? Does that mean that? Does that mean this? Don't go until you can be like self-affirmed.
Yeah.
Don't enter.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah, I've seen this with like, I get girls. Not when you're sober in this daytime. I have seen that.
Thank you everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed our guests who are just full of wisdom. I love them so much.
From the Lord.
Please like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends,
Your family.
follow on Instagram.
Manage the chicken shop.
Oh my gosh.